Hello and welcome, I'm Fun. In this video I'll taking on Blight on Extinction mode with Brama and Malastar. Blight is a very frustrating nemesis because it continually, when it unleashes, puts in these Tainted Jades into your decks and hands. Tainted Jades are a Jade, so it gives 2 Ether, but you suffer 1 damage whenever you do so. But you can get rid of them by spending 2 Ether to destroy them, but if they're destroyed in any other way, you suffer 1 damage. Tainted Jades are their own separate supply pile, which we do here in the setup. It's made up of Tainted Jades equal to the number of players, so 2, plus 4, so 6. But because we are playing on increased difficulty, which is a part of the Extinction mode, we remove 2 of the Jades. So we are only left with 4. And then we also place the Tainted Track next to the mat, which we have here. And we place the Blight Lord token on the first base of the Tainted Track. So the Tainted Track, at the beginning of the Nemesis turn, if there are 1 Tainted Jade left in the supply pile, we move the token 1 further ahead, and if there are 0, we move it 2. So that's why you want to keep track of how many Tainted Jades you're running around with and destroying them as more or less as soon as possible if you can. But we'll get into that with more strategy down the line. The Tainted Track has some very nasty effects. Gravehold suffers 7 at 3. Player with the lowest life suffers 4 at 5, which is really frustrating on Extinction mode because that's half your HP. And it's very difficult to juggle around with because, well, you can have 1 player at 5 and then the other player has to be at 5 or 6, 7, 8 as well. So it has very little life to juggle around with. We do have Brama to help a little bit, but well, the timing can get a bit off and you might not manage to heal up in time. You might have both below 5 and then, yeah. At 7, Blight Lord gains 10 life, so that will make the game last for longer and get more difficult to take down Blight Lord in time. And at 9, the players just lose. So very nasty effects, and that's why we want to keep track of all the Tainted Jades to make sure we are not leaving the Nemesis with 1 or fewer at the beginning of its turn. Blight Lord's Unleash is any player gains 1 Tainted Jade, so, well, straightforward. Do keep in mind that Tainted Jades are their own separate supply piles, so you can gain them whenever you want to on your turn at the cost of 0. When a player would gain a Tainted Jade and that supply pile is empty, that player suffers 1 damage instead. Yeah, and here is the start of each Nemesis turn. Before resolving any other effects, count the number of Tainted Jades in the Tainted Jade supply pile. If there's only 1, advance the Tainted Track once. If there is 0, advance the Tainted Track twice. And then you resolve the effect of the track whenever you get on it immediately. So that's it for the Blight Lord and why we want to make sure that we are keeping the amount of Tainted Jades quite high over there. But we are in need of the additional ether that they provide in the early game to get into the higher cost spells and stuff early on so we can go on faster. To help us, we have Malastar here, who has the spell Immolate. While prep, when you suffer damage, gain 1 charge. So we want to, in the early game, give all the Tainted Jades, well, throughout the whole game, we don't want to give the Tainted Jades to Malastar, so he can take the damage on the Tainted Jades to get 1 charge. And the Tainted Jade itself gives 2 Ether, so that's another charge, basically. And he has the Gift of Aether. Activate during your main phase, gain a spell from any supply pile. You may prep that spell to any player's open breach. So Malastar is basically just going to be buying Leeching Agate, which is one of the gems over here, and just continue making sure, like, to gain the charges from the Tainted Jades because that's so high value, but also destroying them whenever it needs to. So it's a bit of a game of, you know, chicken. Like, the more we can utilize them, the more benefits we gain from them, the faster we can run down Blight Lord and the fewer risks we are running in tier 2 and tier 3. But if we're overdoing it, we're just gonna let it run down the Tainted track way too fast. That's the job of Malastar. To help, we have Brama. Has relatively good breaches if we don't consider the third one, because we're only going to open the second and fourth one, which is really easy to open. Has Buried Light, gain 1 ether and deal 1 damage, fine. Bring Siphon, any player gains 4 life, so it helps us mitigate a bit of all the damage that Malastar is going to be taking. It's not the main goal to use her ability, she's just going to open up her breaches and destroying cards from her deck. So what we're really here for are the good breach setup, and that's more or less it. For our starting supply, we have Leeching Agate. When you gain this, gain 1 charge at the cost of 3 and gain 2 ether. So this is basically what Malastar is going to be buying. Whenever he has 3 ether, he's just going to be buying Leeching Agate, because that's basically gaining a charge at 1 extra cost, but you gain a 2 ether gem into your deck. Sifter's Pearl is just there, it's not really going to provide anything. Clouded Sapphire as well, but that's not really important. Bottled Vortex, free. Destroy this, destroy up to 2 cards in your hand or discard pile, draw 1. Helps Brama getting rid of a lot of cards in her deck, so she can stock up on all the spells she will be getting from Malastar's ability. We have Blasting Staff, 4 cost. You may cast a prep spell that you prep this turn. If you do, that spell does 2 additional damage. Really helps Brama when you get down to a very small deck. You can, and with a lot of spells, it helps getting through a lot of spells, getting through them faster, especially on the last turn if you just need the last turn. Blasting Staff is just gonna blast the last spell off, helping you a lot. Scrying Bolt, 6 cost, deal 5 damage, that's all you need to know. It's not really important for this. Wildfire Whip, 6 cost. While prep during a main phase, you may spend 2 ether to cast any player's prep spell, cast, deal 4 damage. This is really helpful at the end game. If Malastar goes last and we are at the end, and you can charge up all the way, prep Wildfire Whip immediately and spend some ether to cast it or cast Brahma spells, and then might just be enough damage to take down Nemesis Blight Lord before we enter tier 3. Consuming Void, if it's the second to last turn for Malastar, it has nothing else to do, just 7 damage. Well, it's destroy up to 2 cards in hand, deal 3 damage for each card destroyed this way, plus the breach bonus, we're gonna be 7 damage, so it's quite fine. And the main star, Radiance, 8 cost. Cast, deal 5 damage, each ally draws a card. This is the one we're focusing on. Malastar is gonna give Brama a lot of these throughout the game, and helps to do some, quite alright damage. It's not as much as you would like, but it's good damage. And then Malastar keeps drawing, which helps reducing the number of Tainted Jades in his deck, getting them into hand much faster, so you can just pay them off or use them to buy more charges, to buy even more Radiances for Brama. So that's really nice and helps keeping his deck running smoothly, and that's why we're having Radiance. And let's get into the game. Oh, and for those who don't know, we are playing on Extinction mode, so even though Blight Lord says it has 70 HP, it gains 10 additional to go up to 80. Gravehold loses 5 down to 35, and both mages goes down to 8 from 10. And then let's get into this. We are starting off with Brama. Brama is just gonna prep her Buried Light, and then with the 4 ether, she's gonna open up her second breach, because all we want to do is just opening the breaches so we can gain the spells from Malastar's Gift of Ether and use those instead of buying a lot of stuff. That's for her first turn. Then we have Nemesis. Let's see what we have in store here. Eye of Nothing. To discard, spend 6, power 2, unleash twice. So that way we can get a lot of Tainted Jades into play really quickly, which is gonna hurt a lot. I find that sometimes we do want to buy it off, but most of the times we don't. We just want to gain the Tainted Jades and use them that way. or buy them off when we get them. Oh, we have Nemesis again. Go down to 1 here, and Bleed Static. I hate that one. Power 3, the player with the most prepped spells suffers 2 damage for each of their prepped spells. Especially with this setup, because we want to give so many spells to Brama, that's gonna hurt a lot, especially if it's not timed well. And you can't really do much about it because you need to run it down as soon as possible, because otherwise you're gonna lose out in tier 2. So you kind of have to run the risk of taking 4 or 6 damage sometimes and just hope that you win the turn order draw. Alright, so we get into Malastar. Malastar's first turn is also just opening a breach, the 3rd breach, for 3 ether, 1 left over, which is sad, but it's what it is, to prep and immolate. Going into Malastar again, 5 ether, that's 3 for the Leeching Agate. Which gives 1 charge, and then we use the 2 other ether for additional charge, so we end up with 2 charges total. Going on to Brama, what a surprise. Alright, so we're gonna cast Buried Light here for 1 ether and deal 1 damage. So Blight Lord goes down to 79. We have 4 ether total, 3 from the crystals and 1 from Buried Light. So we're gonna focus our 4th breach and prep a spark in it, and prep a spark in our open breach, because that way we're sure that on the next round, if Malastar goes next, maybe twice in a row, we are sure to have an open spot for a Radiance that might be coming our way. So I'll shuffle up and let's go on to the next round. Alright, round 2. I just set up the decks, flipped over the discard piles into the decks, so they're ready to go for making it easier while recording. We're starting off with Brama. So, well, prepping in the open breach, focused breach was not really needed, but we're gonna cast it for 1 damage to bring in Blight Lord down to 78. Then we're gonna spend 4 ether to open it. And then, yeah, I'll prep Buried Light there for the extra additional damage next turn, if that goes that way. And we have Malastar. We're just gonna keep Immolate prep, so we're ready for when we need to take damage. And we have 6 ether in hand, so that's just gonna be 6 charges. You could buy 2 Leeching Agates, but I find that it has much more consistency to just go directly for the charges and hope to charge up as soon as possible and leftover charges instead of banking on the long game. So that's going to be 3 charges going to 5, so we're 1 charge away from using Gift of Ether. We are going Nemesis, so I have nothing. Triggers, and we unleash twice. That means Malastar is going to gain 2 Tainted Jades. Put them on top of the discard pile. You don't need to give both Tainted Jades to the same, but this strategy relies on Malastar gaining all of them. Bleed Static goes down to 2. And we have Shard Spitter. That's a nasty one. Shard Spitter, persistent Greyhole suffers 2 damage. Any player gains a Tainted Jade and places it on top of their deck. So if we don't get to deal with Shard Spitter fast, we might run into having a lot of Gravehole damage as well as a lot of Tainted Jades in our decks. Well, on top of our deck, 5 health. Moving on, we have another Nemesis turn. Bleed Static goes down to 1. Shard Spitter triggers the persistent effect, so Gravehole goes down to 23. And any player gains a Tainted Jade on top of that deck. So I'll just give it to Malastar and I'll just make sure. So that's going to be 5. And then the Tainted Jade on top. Alright, and we go into Haze Spear. Haze Spear. Persistent Greyhole suffers damage equal to this minion's current life, then this minion suffers 1 damage. Yeah, so at least we have some turns to deal with it now to help mitigate the damage that we're going to take from it. So that's alright, because otherwise, especially on Extinction mode, you're already taking the 5 damage. Like, yeah, that can be really rough. Alright, so we're going with Brama. So Brama is going to deal 3 damage. And I think we could take down Shard Spitter, but I think it's better to get rid of the Haste Spewer. So down to 2, because now it's only gonna deal 3 damage at best. And we are left with this hand. And we know that Malastar is going to next and will charge up his ability. So we want to leave our 4th breach open, so Spark is going to be in the 2nd breach. And we have 4 Ether, and now it's time to begin destroying cards with buying Bottle Vortex, so we can destroy cards as we go on. For 4 Ether, 3 Ether, 1 left over. And that's it for Brama. Going on to Malastar. It's quite a boring hand, but we're gonna buy, for the 5, we're gonna buy a Leeching Agate. For the 3, and then going up to 6. Going up to 6 charges, and then we're gonna use Gift of Ether, because even though we have Bleed Static in play, we won't need to risk the damage just to get Radiance into play as soon as possible. So that's gonna be Radiance. And for 2 leftover Ether, we are going to buy a charge. And that's it for round 2. So I'll shuffle up and let's get into the next round. All right, round 3. Problem now is, of course, if Nemesis goes next, there is only 1 Tainted Jade left over here, so we'll begin moving on the Tainted Jade track, but there was nothing we could do about it really, unless we had Bottle Vortex ready to destroy some cards with Malastar, but we didn't. And of course we have the Nemesis, so first of all, there's only 1. So we move the Tainted track once, then we trigger Bleed Static, play with the most prepped spells, suffers 2 for each. So that's going to be Brama going down to 4. Really rough. We have Shard Spitter, Gravehole suffers 2, going down to 21. And we gain additional Tainted Jade, so that's going to be Malastar on top of his deck. We're really gonna destroy some now. And then Haste Spewer gonna deal 2 damage to Gravehold. Going down to 1. So was good that we got some damage off it, and then we draw a new card. Creeping Viridian. To discard, spend 7 Ether. Most likely we're not going to be able to do this. Power 3. Any player gains a Tainted Jade and places it into their hand, advance the Tainted track. Usually I do not buy this one off. It's too expensive for, that's 3 charges already there we could be using to buy spells and just get the game over much sooner. That's why I usually just keep it around, but yeah, still a lot of damage. All right, we are running with Malastar. So yeah, we want to destroy that Tainted Jade, so to mitigate the amount that the Tainted track moves, so we're gonna spend the 2 Ether from Leeching Agate to destroy it, and then we have the 3 crystals to buy a new Leeching Agate and to gain a charge as well, so that's going to be our turn. That's the 2, that's the 3, that's the 5 total we had. Gain 1 charge, and Nemesis goes again. Yeah, so there's only 1 over here, so Tainted track goes 1 and Gravehole suffers 7. So we're down to 12. That's really rough. And then Shard Spitter triggers, so down to 10. We gain a Tainted Jade on top of our deck. And Haste Spewer deals 1. Yeah, so Gravehole doesn't have a lot of HP left, so hopefully we can mitigate a lot of it from the rest of the game, and we draw our last card from the tier 1, and we have Veridity. Player collectively gain 2 Tainted Jades and place them into their hands. So Malastar could, there is no Tainted Jades left in the supply pile, so whenever we're gonna gain 1, we're just gonna take 1 damage. So Malastar is just gonna take both, taking 2 damage and proccing Immolate twice to get another 2 charges. Goes down to 6. And 2 additional charges. And that's it for the Nemesis. And then we go on to Brama. Alright, so Radiance, oh sorry, forgot to take that damage off of Haste Spewer. Obviously. Right, Radiance gonna deal 6 to the Shard Spitter, taking it off finally. Was out there for way too long. And then we are having, well, we need to get rid of that Spark as well, so that's 1 damage. So we're going very slow right now, but it's gonna move a lot faster as we go on. Yeah, so Brama's gonna go again. I really want that extra damage on Radiance, so we're just gonna prep Blight and Spark there. And for the free Ether, we're gonna buy an additional Bottle Vortex. And that's it for Brama. We're going on to Malastar again. Yikes. Right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this Tainted Jade to suffer 1 and gain 2 Ether. So that's gonna be 1 damage, it goes down to 5. We're gonna gain 1 charge for that, so that's 5. So, and for those 2, we're going to destroy that Tainted Jade. And on top of that, 2 Ether from this Leeching Agate, we're going to destroy this Tainted Jade as well, so that's destroyed 2. Just if Bright Lord goes next, we don't run too many risks with it running around the Tainted track. And 1 Ether left over, and that's fine. We're gonna Tainted Jade at the bottom so we will see it sooner, and can either proc some damage and charges on it, or something like that. And we have Brama. So we're gonna use that Spark down to 76. We're just gonna keep the Buried Light prepped for now. And we're gonna use Bottle Vortex to destroy the Spark from our discard pile and then a crystal from our hand. And then we're gonna draw 1. Bottle Vortex also is destroyed in the meantime. And we get Radiance. And we don't really want a 3rd Bottle Vortex. We're quite fine as it is. Yeah, in that case, we just want to buy a charge. And that's it for round 3. Let me shuffle up and let's move into round 4. Alright, I know it looks very bleak right now, but we have a lot of damage coming our way as this game moves on, so I think we're gonna be fine. Alright, so we're going to have Nemesis goes again, and because we have 2 over here, we don't move the Tainted track. This spell, unleash twice. The player with the most prepped spells discard their most expensive prepped spell. Could not have hit at a worse timing, so we're gonna unleash twice. The Tainted Jades goes on top into Malastar. That sucks. And then it's Radiance discard. That hurts. That hurts. Alright, Malastar? Yeah, Malastar. So we're definitely going to destroy that Tainted Jade from hand, because what else can we do? And then 2 Ether is going to be an additional charge, which is the 6th charge. So we're going to use Gift of Ether to get Radiance to Brama. And that's it for Malastar. So we go on to, oh sorry, Radiance should be prepped. So we go on to Brama, and we're gonna use that Radiance to deal 6 damage to Blight Lord. And Malastar is going to draw 1, so I'll just draw his normal hand. And then draw the 1 from Radiance. Alright, that's gonna be fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep Spark to the open breach over here, and then we're gonna use Bottle Vortex to destroy 2 cards from our discard pile. That's gonna be 2 crystals here. Gonna destroy itself. Gonna flip over it to draw 1 card. So that's 4 ether, so we're gonna buy a blasting staff. And that's it for Brama's turn. Going on to Brama again. That's the 2, just gonna draw her hand, 3, 4, 5. All right, so we do want to keep our cards in rotation, keeping an open breach. So we're just gonna use the spark to deal 1 damage now. And we're gonna prep Radiance, blast it off with Blasting Staff to deal 2 additional damage to the 6. So that's, well, 5, and then 1 extra for the open 4th breach. So 6 plus the 2 from Blasting Staff, that's gonna be 8. All right, so now we're seeing some damage coming along. Radiance prepped, 2 ether to buy a charge. And that's gonna be it. Oh, and of course Malastar drew a card. That's gonna be helpful. And ooh, we have good, that's good. Right, so we can get to destroy that for 2 ether from the Leeching Agate. Gonna play that. The Tainted Jade goes over here, so now we're on 2, so now it's much more manageable. We are left with 6 ether, so we're gonna use that to buy 3 charges. And that's gonna be it for Malastar. We have Nemesis, we trigger Creeping Viridian. Any play against the Tainted Jade and place it into a hand, and then advance the Tainted Jade. Tainted Track. Alright, so if Nemesis goes next, we are in for some trouble. Gonna draw. Lay Waste. Unleashed twice, any player suffers 2. That's really rough. That's really rough. Alright, so we're gonna have the Tainted Jade over to Malastar, and then we still have 1 left. So considering the next one for the Tainted Track is that the player with the lowest life suffers 4 damage, we actually want to deal the damage to Brama to hopefully in time heal her up, or only have 1 player suffering the damage. But I do want the charges on from Immolate, so yeah, I think we're just gonna have to risk it, honestly. So that's gonna be down to 4 from the extra Unleash. We didn't have the Tainted Jade for, and gonna gain 1 charge for that, up to 4. Then we're gonna suffer 2 additionally to gain additional charge. That's Lay Waste. And that's it for round 4. That's looking very dark right now. If we are running into Nemesis again, we are in for some big damage. So let's shuffle up and see how it's going to go. Round 5. So in between the rounds, I remembered to put the Leeching Agate into Malastar's discard pile where it was supposed to go, so that's where it went, and I drew my cards, hands, and Malastar is on a 6-card hand because of the extra Tainted Jade he got into hand. So let's look at what's next. We have Malastar. We are way more lucky than we should be allowed to be. Alright, so Leeching Agate and 2 crystals. That's 4 ether, that's 2 Tainted Jades. Right off the bat, that's perfect. And then 1 Tainted Jade is gonna suffer 1 damage to gain the 2 ether, and that's 1 extra charge, so that's the 6th charge. Going off a Gift of Ether, another Radiance for Brama. And then 2 additional ether, so that's gonna give us 1 charge. Whew! That was lucky. Alright, let's move on to Malastar again. I'm not too happy about that. Right, so that's gonna be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ether. So that's gonna be 1 leashing agate and 2 charges sport, so 3 charges total. And that's it for Malastar. We're moving on to Brama. I would really have liked to see some Nemesis turns in between, but here we are. So that's going to be 2 Radiance for 11 damage. So down to 50, so we are closing in a bit, at least. Let's just count. So we have 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so we're gonna use that Blight to deal 1 damage more. Down to 49. Then we're gonna use the Radiance here to cast with Blasting Staff to deal 8 damage. 41. Right, so base almost halfway there, and then 2 Ether from the crystals, that's a charge. Well, and also Blight, but that's, yeah, it's just gonna be the charge, and then we're prepping the spark over here. And that's gonna be it for Brama's turn. And we have Brama again. Yeah, I'm not looking into what's coming now. Like, I'm really happy about that, happy that we survived, like the first turn. But then I would have appreciated to see some Blight Lord. So that's gonna be 1 damage over here, down to 40. So now we are officially halfway. And then we're gonna prep the Radiance and the Blight. And then with the crystals, we're gonna buy a charge. So now we have 4 charges. We are almost ready to heal one of our mages up. It's gonna be Nemesis twice in a row. It's gonna be really rough. We have 2 Tainted Jades over here, so we don't move the Tainted Track. And we have Venomites. 9 life. Persistent, the player with the lowest life suffers 2, or any player discards a prep spell that costs 3 or more. Malastar has 2 HP. And that would make him exhaust, and we don't want that to happen, so we kind of forced to discard our Radiances, and that's why I would have appreciated to see Nemesis goes in between, because right now we are forced to discard our damage that we otherwise would have been able to just kill Venomite with. Now we just kind of have to do both. Alright, so that's it. Yeah, so Venomite triggers the persistent effect, so we're going to discard the Radiance to stay alive. And then we have Cauterizer. When damage is dealt to this minion, reduce the damage to 1. Persistent, any player suffers damage equal to this minion's current life, 3 HP. Yeah, we can survive that once. If it goes twice, we're probably done for. So, means every spell we deal damage with can only deal 1. Yeah, that's gonna be rough. Alright, let's move on to round 6, which is hopefully the second to last round, if I have my way. Or maybe if the Nemesis has its way, we'll see. Alright, round 6. Let's see if we're surviving this. Starting off with Nemesis, of course. So we have to get rid of the Radiance for the Venomite, so that's gonna stink. And then Cauterizer is gonna deal 3 damage, which is gonna be Brama, down to 1 HP. Or Ossify. The players collectively gain 3 Tainted Jades and place them on top of their decks. Yikes. So that's gonna be the 2 over here. So it's gonna be we're gonna give them those to Malastar immediately, and then there's 1 left that we couldn't get. So it's gonna be 1 damage for Malastar, going to 1 HP as well. Up to 5 charges, but barely hanging in with a thread. And we're going to look at the next. Yeah, I think that's GG. Right, so let's resolve this as much as possible. So I think we don't have any more spells to discard, so Venomite's gonna trigger. I think it's the best option is just to let Brama go. So that's 1 damage over here, 1 damage to Gravehold, which is going to be doubled, so that's going down to 7 HP. Losing the charges, losing a breach, unleashing twice, which is going to be 2 damage because there's no Tainted Jade, so that's going to be 4 damage. And then we are having Cauterizers, which we cannot really deal to Malastar. and it's gonna be 6 damage to Gravehold, so that's GG. Well, we tried. We would have been getting Pulverizing Ray, which would have been quite bad as well. Yeah, that's 4 Nemesis turns in a row is already rough, and like the third one was already like barely hanging in by a thread already there, so it's what it is. I'll shuffle up again and try to see if anything changes then. This was a really unlucky game on top of it all, so well, it happens. Thank you for watching now.